So this is a deck that was submitted by a regular YouTube viewer, Hyena. Sent me this one over DMs, and I have to say I'm very impressed with this list. It's not exactly the way that I would envisage trying to play Kecleon, but after a few games, I've come to understand the reason and the purpose for a lot of these cards. So I'll run through it here quickly with my understanding of how it works. We'll start with what the general strategy of the deck is. Okay, so the attacker here is Kecleon, and it's the cornerstone of the deck, really. It's a 90 HP basic Pokemon, it only gives up one prize, and it has the ability Chroma Shift, which reads, this Pokemon is the same type as any basic energy attached to it. And it has an attack here for 90 damage, which you'll use some of the time. Other times you'll use the attack provided to you via Scroll of the Skies. So the general idea of this deck is to get the required energy for the matchup, attach it to Kecleon, and do massive amounts of damage via attacking for weakness. The way Scroll of Skies works is that Grav Drop does 10 plus 50 more for each energy on your opponent's active Pokemon. So if they have even 2 energy attached, this is doing 110 damage for 2 energy. One of those energy requirements are lightning, and the lightning energy gets accelerated by Flaaffy via the Dynamotor ability. Kecleon could do 220 damage against a Pokemon that you're exploiting weakness against. So let's say it's Mew VMAX with 2 energy attached. Between Chroma Shift and Rapid Strike Scroll of the Skies, Grav Drop lets you do 220 damage. And so the general idea here is that for every 2 prizes that the Mew VMAX is taking, you want to be taking 3 prizes by knocking out a Mew VMAX. You do that a couple of times and you win the game. And you've got some interesting ideas here too, with Medicham V cleaning up knockouts that you might miss by just a smidge, by just a smallest of margins in some cases. So let's say you're up against Urshifu, Rapid Strike, and they've got 3 energy attached. Well, if you attack with Scroll of the Skies using Grav Drop, 10 plus 150 is 160 damage, times 2, so let's say you've got the Lightning and the Colorless, times 2, that's 320 damage, and then they'll have 10 HP left. So with Medicham, you use Yoga Loop, place the 2 damage counters, and then gain an extra turn after using Yoga Loop. So that's where the Medicham comes in. And then the rest of the deck is designed around making that strategy happen. You've got the 4 Energy Search to get exactly the energy you need for the matchup. So my suggestion is use Energy Search to get exactly the energy that you need early, because even if you discard it, you've got 2 energy retrievals, and you've got the Training Courts to retrieve the energy from the discard pile. And then the secondary target is these Lightning energies to use alongside Flaaffy. You've got Raihan at a 4 count to accelerate energy as well, to attack with Spinning Attack if you have to, or otherwise to accelerate energy in situations where you might not be able to very easily. You've got Pioneer here to try and get you out of that unfortunate situation that can happen where the target energy that you need might end up in your prizes. So that's what Pioneer is there for. And yeah, the rest of the deck is sort of built around making the strategy work. With 90 HP Flaaffies in the deck, you can afford to run the Level Ball as a secondary target for Level Ball. So Level Ball gets the Kecleon, and it gets the Mareep and the Flaaffy, and then you need the Quick Balls if you want to get Medicham. And you've got this emergency Crobat here for when your hand doesn't look so great. Tool Scrapper's good as well, because you kind of just lose to Tool Jammer. So Scrapper is very good for you there. Also helps to get rid of things like Cape. So if you're in a matchup like Zacian Zamazenta or Suicune, Ideally, you want to take their capes off so that Scroll of the Skies can do the damage it needs to, especially against Suicune. You really want to try and one-shot the Pokemon in that matchup. So that's the general idea. Why don't we take it into a game and see it in action? This is kind of typical of my experience with this deck, as it is. Probably the main weakness is that it is unfortunately very inconsistent. Yeah, I think I'm gonna concede that one, move on. It's a pretty dead hand. And they're set up. They're just gonna run away with the game at this point. So we'll concede. And now I haven't been able to use Growl, so everything's gonna take 60 damage. I think we just lose here because they're gonna take 4 prizes this turn. So I'm gonna let them attack and have it, and then we're gonna concede because this is not good. And then we just lose on the following turn. They have GG on board, just about. They're just short one more scroll. Anything, I think we just scoop at that point. It's not really gonna come together in time. They have basically a fully set up board. Like their side of the board is just completely ready to go. On the other hand, we've really just not been able to find anything, so I'm gonna concede there. Let's run through the deck again and just what it's setting out to achieve, what the game plan is. So in a sentence, this deck uses Kecleon from Chilling Reign and its ability Chroma Shift to hit anything in format for weakness and deal anywhere from 180 damage or more in a single turn, thanks to Grav Drop, in order to trade favorably against Pokemon VMAX decks, or likewise any other rule box type, multi-prize type deck. So what you're trying to do is favorably trade against your opponent using Chroma Shift. Now what's been happening consistently in these games is I haven't been able to set up for various reasons. So not enough Pokemon in play, or the cards that I require to set up with don't arrive on time. I think a big part of it is that the draw support account is too low. Raihan is good, but I don't think the deck actually needs it. You do kind of want it for Scroll of the Skies and to just hit your correct combo pieces in time. But I think that what you want to do is run either Raihan or Flaaffy and not both, perhaps. If we go across, a long time ago I put together this list, I think. Maybe I've played with it since, but I thought that this list might be a better approach, where I'm using something like Eldegoss and Cotton Lift to get the energy as I need, and between Flaaffy and the Raihan, which again is at a 4 count, should allow us to power up Kecleon in time. I have Scroll of the Skies here. I run a lot of the same ideas, except I've got access to extra supporters as well. And you can see here the energy count is a bit higher too. So that might be a different approach that's similar but not exactly the same. And then you've also got this Snorlax list that I've played with as well, and you've got like a healthier draw support account, and you've still got the 4 Raihan, you've got the 4 Scroll of the Skies. So here's a different approach to how you might play that deck as well. So why don't we clone this deck? Okay, and we'll have a look at how we can adjust it, perhaps, to work a bit more often. Now, I do like Energy Search in the deck, but maybe I don't need it at the full 4 count. Maybe I can do it at a 3 count. I'm not sure. Level Ball and Quick Ball is good. They get majority of the cards in the deck, except for Snorlax you can't get via Level Ball. So that's a bit of a concern and makes me want to run cards like Capture Energy. Because if you run Capture Energy, it's kind of like another out to Snorlax, and you can attach it to a Pokemon like Mareep and retreat it. Part of the issue of this deck is that Kecleon has 2 retreat costs, and that makes the Snorlax strategy a bit weaker. So there's that to consider as well. We do run 4 Air Balloon to Switch to make sure that we're always able to retreat when we want. So that is good. When you look at this energy spread, maybe you cut the water energy and accept a loss to Victini. Okay, so maybe we cut this. Metal energy, I think, is still relevant to beat the likes of Ice Rider Calyrex. That's a deck that can definitely counter your strategy by discarding its own energy. So I think you need to keep it. Grass hits a lot of grass weaknesses in the format, like Umbreon VMAX, so you need that. Psychic is important for the Urshifus. Fire, I think, is important for the Zacian Zanazenta matchup. Fighting is still relevant to hit certain things for weakness, but I could justify cutting the fire energy from the deck. And I think Dark is worth exploiting with Shadow Rider Calyrex in format. So there we've made 2 cuts. And then we can have a think about what is important for us in the current format. So maybe we want the extra psychic energy. Maybe we want the extra dark energy, perhaps, for the Mew VMAX matchup. You could cut the Raihan count down, because that's not always going to be useful. It's more useful later in the game too. So I would even hazard going a 2 count of Raihan, because you think about it, what are the cards that you're trying to get with Raihan, right? You want to get cards like Scroll of the Skies. Well, we run Scroll at a 4 count, so you're going to want to hope that you draw into that card naturally anyway, right? So the other thing to consider too is we run the Capture Energies to make setting up our deck a bit more consistent too. So maybe if we cut those and just run 4 Capture Energies and see how the deck goes, that might be a better way to approach it. So let's try Capture. And we'll consider it this way. So what I might do is, one Twitter account I like to follow is Justin Basil, and just look at the metagame matchups. So the top 8 decks, and use that as a baseline for what energies I should include. So one Pokemon that I kind of missed was the Moltres counter box, but that Moltres is weak to grass anyhow, so that's there. Jolteon is the card that I forgot to consider. So what can I cut here? I feel like these energies are the most relevant in the matchup. You could probably concede the Ice Rider Calyrex matchup and cut that one, and then put in Fighting Energy again. The Fighting Energy matchup is pretty poor for us, though. Jolteon really does a number on us and what we're trying to do. Anyhow, let's just call this V2, and let's try the 4 Capture Energy approach and see if that works any better for us. And we'll see if our cuts were wise or not. Okay, so we've got the Kecleon. Capture Energy is generally good as well. Alright, so I see Ludicolo, I see a Cape. That makes me think that we're up against Suicune, Ludicolo, and Teleon, which is not a bad matchup for us to want to play against at all. Let's go a Mareep on the bench. I'm going to discard the Psychic Energy here. Put it in the discard pile because we can retrieve it later, right? We'll grab a second Mareep just to have it. I'm going to put Capture Energy on Kecleon, and that grabs Snorlax for us. Alright, Air Balloon to the Kecleon, and we'll retreat for Snorlax. And then I'm going to put this balloon down as well, just to eke out one extra card off this Gormandize. And you see already the deck is functioning a bit nicer. We're able to draw there without playing Crobat to the board, because we've got a few extra draw supporters up our sleeve as well. We're able to get the Professor's Research. Now, the great thing about this matchup for us is that we already run the extra lightning energies. It should make attacking with Kecleon a bit more consistent. We're not going to be able to attack with Grav Drop on this Kecleon though, unfortunately, unless our opponent decides to use Tool Scrapper on us. So one of the cards that I've conceded for this list is including the Tool Scrapper for the Tool Jammer matchups, and it would have been good for this matchup too, so might be a 3-hit KO kind of matchup. See how it goes. Okay, so I'm going to use Switch here straight away. We'll put Mareep in the active. That's good for us. We'll Level Ball and we'll grab a Flaaffy. Put it here. I think we're going to Quick Ball Training Court because we're going to discard it anyway. And we'll grab another Kecleon so we can play the Scroll of Skies. Like so. Play Training Court to the board and we'll research. Got no way to discard that lightning, hey. Alright, so I think that what I want to do is attach a lightning to Kecleon, I think. Maybe I can put it here. Maybe that's fine. Energy Search for the other lightning because I do want it for this matchup. Play the other Air Balloon down. Sort of hesitant to do that, but I do need the cards. I really don't want to bench the Snorlax, and I don't have to when I think about it. I do have a Research in hand already, so I'll just Gormandize here. We'll take out 2 cards. If our opponent attacks the Snorlax, then that's great. For us, it clears the Snorlax out. But we do have the Switch in hand to get it out of there if we have to. Straight into the Kecleon. It's Kecleon, the Inteleon. Similar sounding names there. So I think what our opponent recognizes is that they can Quick Shooting and Waterfall to take KOs on the Kecleons. It's not a bad strategy. If that's the way that they go. They really need Melanie here to get things going. No water energy in the discard is going to make it difficult for them. Bucket helps. Alright, we've been fortunate here, I think. We're going to attach a Grass Energy here. And I'll switch. Kecleon. Scroll. I'm hesitant about playing the research. It's not bad at the same time. I don't know. We'll try playing it like this. What I want my opponent to do is counter the stadium so that I can play Training Court in response. So this is a matchup where the prize trade is much tighter. So we're very fortunate to have survived as long as we have without being knocked out. And it's very unusual to see a Suicune deck not get all the resources that they need. So we'll promote Flaaffy here. We've got a Bruno off the top. I suppose what I can do here is, because we already have a Lightning in the discard pile, I can use Dynamotor. And we'll play it on this Kecleon. And we're going to regular attach here. And rather than discarding the Training Court, we'll just play Bruno, shuffle it back. And we run Raihan at a 2. We've already got energy in the discard pile, so we don't need to set up in that respect. We'll just retreat to this Kecleon and scroll. Yeah, I think that's the play. So we'll just do Grav Drop here. That gets the KO. Very good. Research, fantastic. Lightning. So there's the third Lightning energy in the deck, which will help us push through in this matchup. You see, it's only taken a game of this approach to really turn the fortunes of the deck around. This is also the kind of matchup where I wouldn't expect our deck to perform great necessarily, especially if we're not one-shotting the Suicunes. Ends up being a very even prize trade, actually. Where I would probably give the advantage to this deck rather than ours. We've just been fortunate to see our opponent not draw very well. At all, in fact. Very poor open from them. I'll still take it though, because I've had poor opens with this... very good opens with this list and still have lost. See the Shady Dealings coming out. They're going to try and stabilize. They're not very far behind, but ideally we take another KO on the following turn. I can say with reasonable confidence that I'm going to quick ball the Lightning and set it up on a Kecleon via Dynamotor. Regular attached to this Kecleon. And that'll be our approach. Goes. I don't see Scrapper hitting the board, so that's good for us. We'll discard the Lightning Energy like I wanted to. There is a Flaaffy in the deck that we do need to retrieve at some point. Let's Dynamotor to here. And then I think I need to regular attach. Not going to use the Capture Energy, we'll just use the regular Dark. This. Might even put this Kecleon down, just in case. I'm gonna leave those other energies in the discard. I don't need to retrieve them with Training Court just now. And we'll use Spinning Attack here. So Grav Drop wouldn't have been good enough to get the KO there. My opponent's Drizzile had no energy attached, so we would have only done 20 damage. So that's one of the drawbacks of Grav Drop. Your opponent can play around it by simply not attaching energy until they are ready to deal with Kecleon. Regular Water Energy attachment here. Now they just need to see a Melanie, which comes out of the hand just like that. They draw 3. Suicune is going to start doing some work for our opponent. And we can't one-shot this Suicune either. This is unfortunate here. They get the KO on Mareep. So it's going to make life difficult. We've only got the one Flaaffy in play. And we saw before that there's no Mareeps remaining in the deck. So just have to be wise with our energy placement. Grav Drop helps a lot in this scenario because it doesn't really matter if we have 2 or 3 energy attached when our opponent must attach energy in order to attack. So we'll be okay. Blizzard Rondo evens up the prize trade. So you can see, even though they had a shaky start, it's still quite an even game. So I definitely don't count my chickens, so to speak, when it comes to this deck. I'm not going to bench Snorlax because it's a bit of a liability when it's in play. Play the scroll down. And just before I forget, I'm going to use Dynamotor as well. And we'll attach it to this Kecleon. So now both these Kecleons are ready to go. I'm going to go Bruno here. Shuffle and draw, see what we get. Raihan is great to see, and we see the Rescue Carrier, so that's actually a very decent draw there. Now, fearing that the Flaaffy is going to get knocked out, maybe I still need to play Carrier. Yeah, I probably still need to play it now. So this way, if the Flaaffy gets targeted down, then I've got another one sort of waiting in the wings, ready to go. Let's retreat to this Kecleon, and we're going to spinning attack here, I think. Just consider the deck one more time, consider our board state. No, I think this is the way to go. The only thing I want to consider is maybe benching a Kecleon in case I get Marnied as well. It's not the worst idea. Alright, Grav Drop here, and do 220. If we had Tool Scrapper, that would be a knockout. But unfortunately, Suicune does have a cape attached, so that's not going to happen here. Now, they've gotten the Lombre out to work towards Ludicolo, but Ludicolo doesn't do too much for them in this matchup unless they plan to perhaps attack with Lotad. Or if Ludicolo can be used. So you can see there's the Marnie. That's why I wanted to bench the other Kecleon. Our opponent takes the knockout, and we still have 2 Kecleons in play. And now I desperately need to evolve this Mareep, which I'll be able to thanks to the Level Ball. So I didn't mention that last turn, but it's something I considered. Does Mareep just end up getting knocked out by quick shooting? And it would normally. Oh. Well, fortunately we've got Energy Search. And we have Training Court as well to help us out here. I'm gonna Level Ball. Grab the Flaaffy, pardon me. This pushes it out of range, which is good. And then we have Boss in hand as well, so next turn is looking like a win for us as long as nothing goes terribly wrong. I'm going to use this and just grab like 1 energy and put it into hand. And then I will play the scroll as well, just in case. And we will grab... And Boss should give us the game on the following turn. Here comes the Lotad. Now, unfortunately for them, the Lotad can't attack without some kind of energy switch. Melanie can't be used on a non-V, which is a really strange design decision in my opinion, but fair enough. No KO there to be had. So very fortunate for us too, because if they're able to get that knockout on the Flaaffy, they could very easily win this turn. They might miss by a sliver here. They might lose by just a little bit. Also, if they just don't have a cape, they can't put Suicune active. So it's a bit of a checkmate in that scenario. How many capes have they been through? 1. Uh-oh. If they attach a cape here, we probably lose. Okay, I think we win. Awesome. So no matter what, we just attack with Grav Drop. Yeah. Knock out the Suicune, and that is GG. So the Snorlax build worked in that game. I have had games that are a bit of a blowout though, but I am impressed with how Capture Energy worked for us here. So let's go through the principles of the design a little bit and why I made the changes that I had. So let's look at the original list. So this is the list that Hyena sent to me via DMs. And I really like the concept and I like the approach. There's really, really good ideas happening in this deck. You've got the Kecleon, and via Chroma Shift, you're looking to deal heavy damage to V and V Max Pokemon. Well, to any Pokemon, really. But what you're really exploiting is the prize trade, right? So the idea is that Chroma Shift lets you deal double damage to V Maxes, and most of the time it's going to be a 2-hit KO. There will be instances where you can 1-hit KO the opponent. However, a lot of the time it's going to be a 2-hit KO. So let's take like the most popular deck in format at the moment, Mew VMAX. So Mew VMAX has 310 HP. If you attack with Spinning Attack, and let's assume that you've got a Dark Energy attached, that's 180 damage. So Spinning Attack is 90 times 2. Or if you've got Scroll of the Skies equipped, Grav Drop does 10 plus 50 plus 50 because they'll have 2 energy attached. So that's 220 damage, still not a 1-hit KO. But very clearly it's going to be a 2-hit KO against that Pokemon. And the idea is that for every 2 prizes your opponent takes, we're taking 3. Now the issue that I have with the deck, usually one, is that I'm not able to get exactly the Pokemon that I need into play straight away. And the second issue that I have is the very thin margin of draw supporters means that I'm often left with a hand without draw options. I know that Raihan is supposed to take the place of a draw supporter in the way that this deck works and with the engine that it has. But I'm finding that I'm not able to establish a board that can take advantage of Raihan. And so one of the changes that I've made is to actually cut this card down. When you think about it, is Scroll of the Skies is already at a 4 count, right? A lot of the Pokemon that you need are at heavier accounts, or you run heavy accounts of cards to get exactly the cards that you need for given situations. You already run 4 Energy Search to get these cards here. And with only requiring 2 energy for Grav Drop, you don't sort of need Raihan alongside the Flaaffy to accelerate energy a lot of the time. What I found in that game just now is that I just needed to use Dynamotor here and there to make sure that energy was ready to go on the Pokemon that I needed. So going from this and thinking about the things that were holding me back in a lot of games, I settled on the list that we worked on earlier and came up with this version that makes use of Snorlax. It reduces the number of energy that are in the deck in favor of cards like Capture Energy to help solve the first problem. And it cuts the Raihan down and gives us just a little bit more in terms of draw supporters with Bruno. And of course, the Snorlax is a pseudo draw engine in and of itself as well. So why don't we go through it again? So the same core idea is here. You've got the Kecleon, you're attacking with Chroma Shift, and then you've got the 3-2 Flaaffy in this list in order to accelerate Lightning Energy with Dynamotor. One of the key differences is the Snorlax sitting at a 2 count, allowing you to draw up with Gormandise a lot of the time. You have heavy switch options with Air Balloon and Switch, so a lot of the time the Snorlax is going to do what it needs to do. And it's also why I'm running the 60 HP Mareep instead of the 70 HP, so that I can retreat it easier via a single energy attachment. Capture Energy solves the problem of initial setup, thanks to the effect of being able to search your deck for a basic Pokemon and putting it on your bench. The draw engine situation is not fully solved by the change in the supporter look and feel. So it's kind of one of the issues that's still present in the deck, but it's not so bad because instead you're running the 4 Capture Energy and the 2 Snorlax, and this is also unlocked by Quick Ball. So you've got 4 Quick Ball, 4 Capture Energy, which can search out the Snorlax. You run 4 Air Balloon and 2 Switch, which can switch out the active Pokemon and into the Snorlax. So I think this lineup works. You've got the Rescue Carrier still to recover the Pokemon as needed. You still have Raihan, but it's less of a focus of what you're trying to do. You still have the 4 Rapid Strike Scroll of the Skies because it's a pretty important aspect of the deck. Grav Drop is a really important card to make it work and exceed the damage cap presented by Spinning Attack. And so I think this list works pretty well. One of the risks that you run with the list, of course, is with the lower count of the basic energy that you have access to, you might miss out on the water energy against cards like Victini. You might miss out on the metal energy against the likes of Ice Rider Calyrex. But what I've done here is I've justified the basic energy that I've included by looking at the top archetypes in the format at the moment, and I've chosen to select cards which counter those scenarios and those situations. I think this list works pretty well as a evolution, as a development on the list that I was provided to try out. So anyway, that was Kecleon. A bit of a different idea for a deck, and one that I sort of had an idea floating around a while ago to try Kecleon, and I sort of shelved it as I started going through and trying more meta decks. I'm glad that I had the opportunity to return to this one, and I thank you, Hyena, for coming up with the general strategy of the deck. I really like the approach and the idea of using Scroll of the Skies to buff the damage that you're doing with Chroma Shift. Perhaps one of the other alternative strategies or alternative approaches to this deck is you cut the scrolls completely and focus on just using Spinning Attack with the whole range of basic energy. And so the idea there would be to have a very consistent Flaaffy Kecleon lineup to always be able to attack with Spinning Attack. It becomes harder to always expect to have 3 energy attached, and so it's what I really like about having Scroll of the Skies. It reduces the burden of attachments. The way I look at this card, at looking at Scroll of the Skies, is it's almost like counter gain, or I'm trying to think of the SP card that reduces the energy requirement. Energy gain from the SP era, where you're reducing the number of energy required to attack. So Scroll of the Skies has a very similar quality to it, where you're doing the same thing that you're trying to do, which is just deal a decent chunk of damage and exploit Chroma Shift to deal heavier damage, but you're reducing the number of energy in order to do it. So that's the way that you need to look at this card. Not strictly required to attack, but very good when you're able to. And often doing more damage than what Spinning Attack does. So that's the deck. I encourage you to give it a go. It's quite a cheap one to put together too, and you might pick up some cheeky wins against decks that are not expecting to lose.